There have been several incidents recently. Grenades exploded in Dnipro, the murder of Chechen Ukrainian sniper Amina Okuyeva, a shooting in Kharkiv. It gives the impression that it's the 19th or criminal Chicago. Why didn't the police predict these crimes?
Well, the headlines indicate that the crime was committed. Objectively speaking, we're also occupied with crimes that haven't been committed, those that we predicted. But in the 90s, there was a different criminal situation in our country. We've had 39 murders where the instrument of the crime was a grenade, and this is in 10 months of this year, and there were 8 cases of anti-tank grenade launchers. This is in the peaceful regions of Ukraine.
Why is this happening?
Because there's a war going on. We opened the weapons arsenal. Our enemies did the same. Weapons spread into peaceful regions. We gathered the heads of the Dnipro, Kharkiv, Zaporizhzhia, Kherson, Donetsk, and Luhansk regions. Not just the heads of the regional police, but also the deputy heads of prevention, the crime prevention police, the patrol police, and even internal security were called. And they created a filter so that weapons didn't move from frontline territory to other regions. Unfortunately, this is a common situation in every country where there is a war.
How many illegal weapons are in people's possession?
In October alone, we registered more than 2,000 cases when law enforcement has seized illegal weapons. Since the beginning of the year, we have detected and registered more than 8,000 of these offenses.
Dnipro, there was a very tragic situation. The police came to the scene of a crime and were attacked with a grenade. How did the police protect themselves in such a situation?
This is a very unusual situation. We need to understand this because it isn't a question of the police's innocence or guilt. When a perpetrator throws a grenade into a locked room with a stairwell, everyone there is affected. We already had a similar situation in Chernihiv when the robber approached the cash register at a pawn shop with a machine gun and took money. We pursued him for a few days and he put up armed resistance. He threw a grenade at the assault team and some of the special unit employees were wounded. These officers are in critical condition. They probably won't be able to work in the police force anymore. This is a war in the state. Previously, crime was fairly weak, without grenades. But now, and where exactly do these grenades come from? And how can we make sure they don't fall into peaceful regions? This is a big prevention job.
On the murder of our colleague Pavlo Sheremet, why did you classify all the case files?
So that what the investigators did and didn't do wouldn't be a topic of discussion, because it doesn't bring beneficial information to the public. First of all, it undermines the investigation. The perpetrators of these crimes have not been detained.
How did our colleague's film help you?
We called this story Working on Our Mistakes. The film gave us an impetus to fix the mistakes we had made. And then they started accusing us of classifying everything. On the contrary, we maintain constant contact with all the participants in this project.
Has the investigation progressed since the film?
Suspects have not been identified.
As far as we know, more than half of the officers in the Special Forces regiments worked in the police before. They worked during the Maidan Revolution. Some of them committed crimes. Some of them saw crimes being committed, but did not prevent them or testify about them at the prosecutor's office. Nevertheless, these people continue to work for the police. Why do you need them?
I've also been in the police for more than 2 years. Ukraine's constitution protects all citizens, and neatly saying, you're all bad because you're like this, is that democratic? Are these the values that we fought for? There is an investigative body that is investigating, and the National Police plays an active part in investigating these offenses. They report often on the progress of their achievements publicly enough. And what about the fact that there are dozens of police investigators working there, that there are dozens of operatives there? It's a simple fact. Conducting any investigation and ensuring first and foremost the security of the investigators conducting the investigation, this is what the Special Forces are doing.
This department of the Prosecutor General's office that is investigating the crimes on the Maidan repeatedly said that the police did not contribute to or poorly facilitated the investigation. Secondly, they claimed that 15,000 police officers testified to a few dozen people. Thirdly, we have a case with the employees of the Kharkiv police when they were suspected of crimes on the Maidan on February 18th. They were taken to the police. They beat journalists who were already in police status. Then the courts charged them for the mismanagement of the Kharkiv police, and they later fled to Russia. Do you really need such people?
You answered your question yourself. The police are not a monolith. This is an organization made up of 140,000 active employees, citizens of Ukraine. And we don't have a general opinion that everyone must think this way. There are managers at each level, and the managers make decisions in accordance with the rights that the managers have. No one can be singled out as a criminal without the proper procedures.
Це не буде досліджено і прийнято рішення суду щодо до всіх. А тепер давайте...
This is true. But how do I as a citizen feel safe if a police officer who ought to defend me is committing a crime and being protected by the leadership of the police? As a citizen, in this case, I feel fear that I can't be safe.
The fear passes with time. At present, we have 2,000 Special Forces employees, and they perform an important common function. These aren't just words. These units have existed, they're still here, and they will continue to exist. In Kiev, there are now 2 regiments of Special Forces, and it was my decision to create one more in order to provide protection and public security in the city of Kiev.
How many of them worked in the Berkut?
We have already reported this many times. Now, I could say the wrong number, but regarding each officer, all of them have gone through all kinds of inspections, lustration, economic inspections. I didn't conduct the inspections personally.
I have a clarification. If a police officer sees that a crime is committed and does not report it, is that a crime?
If a police officer sees a crime, they must stop it.
And what if he does not stop it and then does not report it?
You're answering the question yourself.
The story of the former employees of the Department of Public Security, Babic and Seredynsky, who were also suspected of crimes on Maidan and are now working for the National Police. For them in particular, Alexander Fatsevich, the head of the Ukrainian Patrol Police, as well as the Deputy Minister Serhiy Yarovy, were instructed to get them out on bail. Do you think coming to these meetings puts pressure on the court?
The court didn't make any statements about being under pressure.
And in your opinion?
During the court sessions, Fatsevich alerted me himself that he, as a citizen, was going to court.
As a citizen, how? Did he take a day off work?
No, he didn't interrupt his work schedule. He was not absent from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
And why weren't Babic and Seredynsky suspended from work?
There was no court decision on this. If there is a court decision, then it's carried out.
Isn't this a loss of reputation for you?
And would it be less of a loss of reputation if someone whose guilt has not yet been established by the court were labeled a criminal?
But we're not talking about the recognition as criminals. We're talking about removal from office during the time of the investigation.
And if the investigation goes on for several years, I have to pay a salary?
So the salary is more important than loss of reputation?
There is a labor law, and because of certain regulations, I can suspend a person for a certain time period, but not a day more.
So about the protests at the parliament, we know that the president personally summoned both the minister and the leaders of the national police. We also know that there was a conflict over whether or not to allow tents to be set up. Therefore, the question is, how independent are you from politics?
I have repeatedly participated in various meetings, both in the cabinet and with the president. And as for these insinuations, I'm not interested in talking about that. Maybe you need to ask society about this. How independent is the head of the police?